morning and welcome to another episode of Kingdom News. I am your host, Gwen Goolsby Tillery, and this morning I have the pleasure of having on Latrina McCarty. So several years ago, I wrote a book called Finding Purpose in Your Pain, Moving from Tragedy to Triumph. And in that book, I talk a little bit about how this tragic situation that I had to deal with really allowed me to give birth to so many things that I never knew was in me or even that I had the potential to do. And so this guest that I have on with me this morning exemplifies that. As a result of a tragic situation in her life, she has moved forward and been able to give birth to books, a ministry, and so many other things. So welcome, Latrina. How are you?
I'm great. And thank you for having me, first of all. It has been a journey for me. I began right out of high school, and someone asked me, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I said, "Well, the first thing came to mind, I was like, well, I want to get married and have a child, but by the time I'm 25, right?" So it wasn't what was your purpose or what was your why. And as I moved on, those things did happen. I did graduate from undergraduate with a degree, and I met my husband 2 months before I graduated from college. And so we moved on from there. We had 2 children, and we were planning our future. I was planning our 40th birthday party, but it didn't happen.
I'm sorry, before you go that far, first, let's slow down a little. You want to rush through it. We're going to take our time and get through it. They're going to get all the information. Okay. So first, Latrina, tell us a little, well, you gave us a little bit about yourself, but where are you from?
Oh, I've got that. Okay. I am from Malls Point, Mississippi, and I grew up there from the time I was born, actually. And when I was 18, I graduated from high school, and I knew I wanted to do something else. I felt as if that I was going to be the next Oprah Winfrey. But the thing is, once I got into my field, broadcast journalism, I felt I wanted to do something more than that. And so later, when I went to college, I actually got married in the meantime, and so I had various different jobs, and I ended up working at a television station. So at that time, I was married. My son was 4 at the time, and I was like, well, let's just pivot. Let's do something else. And I felt like, wow, I said, these stories are great, but I wanted to give something more. I knew that, for an instance, I wanted to do something more. So I ended up working at a university, whereas I was a coordinator. And as a coordinator of service learning, I was able to work with faculty and staff and even lead a student organization. It was a volunteer group. And so I met an array of people in the community of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And I went on, my husband was in the military. Well, he was leaving the military when I met him. And so he wanted to go back to school. And so I had already graduated. So he went back to school. And ironically, after leaving that university's job, we both became school teachers, believe it or not. We became school teachers. And so we moved on from there. I worked a year. And he was.
So we're at this point. Where are you located at this point?
We are still in Hattiesburg. We made Hattiesburg our home, and so moving forward, we both worked for a year, and we wanted a second child. Well, I wanted one. I kind of convinced him, like, "Come on, you weren't the only child. Come on," and so. Our children are 6.5 years apart, but she came. So we have a son and we had a daughter. And he convinced me. He's like, well, don't you want to stay home? And I knew I couldn't have anybody to keep her. So I stayed at home, believe it or not. And he was a school teacher. He was a coach because that was his passion. And his passion was actually baseball too. But he had left the military and he pursued teaching. And so actually taught community. He actually majored in community health sciences. So he had a double major. He was really, really smart. I got a good one, right? He was so smart. And so we went on, and I stayed at home for with my daughter about 2.5 years. And then I re-entered the teaching field. And so we were living that life. We had the brand new house, starter home, but it was, we bought it brand new. We had the children. And as we advanced on, his injury became worse. He was hurt in the military and it became worse. And he developed other ailments. And so he passed away at 39. And of course, I had to pivot. So I left that area. He passed away in 2010. So I left the area in 2011 and I started a new life. But let me backtrack for a moment. Like I said, when I was in high school, someone asked me what I wanted. And when I was in college, all of my friends were getting married. And I would just sit there, I'm like, when is my Boaz coming? I felt like, what's going on? And at that time frame, during that time period, that's what we were interested in doing. We were graduating, getting a career, and moving on. And so I didn't meet him until October, 2 months before I graduated from the college. And how I met him, I always tell people this story. I was working at a grocery store part time, and I saw him. I was like, wow, this dude right here. I knew he was kind of military. It just, they just have that walk. And he was with his cousin. And I'm like, I don't want his cousin to ask me for my phone number. So fortunately, someone pulled his cousin to the side, and there he was. I met him on a Saturday. So I came back to my dorm room. We were in the suite. And I told my suite mates, you guys, I have met the man. This is it right here. This is it for me. And so Sunday rolled around, no phone call. Monday, no phone call. So he ends up calling me on Tuesday. I'm like, didn't I not give you my phone number on Saturday? And so his story is, I was going through my pocket and I just happened to come across your phone number and decided to give you a call. I said, really? So we connected in a wonderful way. So he was actually stationed in San Diego, and he was actually at home visiting his parents. He was honorably discharged from the Marines, and so he was actually just at home visiting because he was going to make his home in San Diego. And I met him. We met up the very next day, Wednesday. I met his dad, and he took me over to his mom's house, and I met his mom. And from there, that was it. That was it. And people like, what? Who does this? He did that. He did that. So I love to tell a story even to my children. They were like, wow, my daughter's like, really, Mom? It's amazing. So again, he wasn't with us long. We had that. Moving forward, when I moved down to the coast, I was that person who wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to my community of Malls Point. And I had an opportunity to work there for a year. But of course, at that time, I was living in a different city. So the commute was maybe about 30 minutes per day. And I knew I needed to make a decision about my family because I did not want my daughter to be a latchkey kid either. She was in maybe third or fourth grade. And so I worked in a community closer to home as a school teacher. And so from then, I had already got my master's in English. So then I moved on and to get certified to teach at a collegiate level as well. And that's when I took that extra class at William Carey University and was able to write my first one act play. And so that it moved on from there. I wrote my one act play, which became a series. And then I wrote a stage play, which is called Off the Court. That was my baby. It was 6 acts, and it ended up being 2 hours long too. And even though it was on Amazon, everything's on Amazon, I wanted to bring it to the stage. And so in between those times of me, moving down here, I had, about maybe 2 teaching jobs. And between that time, I had to stop and pause because I wanted to move quickly in order to, I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to stop and pause and say, this is your reality, Trina. You are a single mom and you are booking it. And so I kept moving, but at some point I had to stop. So I took 1 year, I took a sabbatical. I did. 1 year I took a sabbatical. I was writing stage plays and just really focusing in on my children. And the last time I left, I came back in 2014 to teach. 2018, I left again. And that's when I was able to not only bring my stage play to the actual live stage, I was able to do book signings. So I published my book through Westbow Press, and I was able to go into various Barnes and Nobles. I was doing book signings across the Gulf, the Gulf Coast, from Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, wherever Barnes and Nobles I would land, and that's what I did. Was it fun? Absolutely. I mean, we went. My daughter and I went everywhere, and it was fun to promote the book. And so thereafter, that's when I brought a cast together, and we did the stage play, which is on YouTube. Go to LGN Productions, and you'll be able to see the full stage play. And I tell people this all the time: writing is not the issue. It's just when you want to see that on film or on stage. And I tell people all the time, I think I almost died when I brought that play to the stage, but it was phenomenal. It was life changing. Off the court again, it was based on true events. Life, my story. Instead of the main character passing away, he ends up going to prison, and so it's great.
So let's take a step back. So you are living out your dream pretty much, of wanting to be married, the house, the
Absolutely.
kids, you're doing it, you're doing well, or at least okay financially. So you lose your husband. How long had you been married at this point?
I had known him for 17 years, and we were married for 14.
Okay,
Married
so
14.
a long time. Marriage is beyond a year now. It's unfortunately a long time. So a long time. And so, how do you begin the process of your healing journey with that situation?
Just first of all, I had to make a decision. And in October, he passed away, and I was a school teacher. And I just couldn't go back to work. I went back to work in January. And by the time February came around, I was like, I just literally cannot come home and be in the same community. And I felt like as if I needed to be closer to my family. And so I made a decision to put the house up for market. The house sold within 21 days. And so, in the process of trying to move closer to my mom, I ended up moving in a town called Ocean Springs, which is not too far from Moss Point. And of course, my children were used to living in a home, so I actually found a home, and it just worked out pretty well because I found the home myself, and I felt like this is just too much money. I just felt like they need to come down some, and they did. They came down $20,000, and I was able to walk in with equity. It's just everything's just really, really set the stage for where I am right now. And I raised my children. Now, personally, I remember my son telling me I don't know, he must have been in 10th grade. I can't remember him saying it. He said, Mom, I don't want you to date until I graduate from high school. Now, granted, now was going into the 9th grade when his dad passed away. He was in 8th grade. I'm like, but at the same time, you know, it, being a single parent, I'm telling you, it is something. And I had a son who was hurting, and my daughter, she was too. We all had our own ailments. We had our own journeys to deal with, and so he took all my time. And he was a basketball player too, so he was interesting. So he got through that, and when he graduated from high school, he said, Mom, I think I want to try to follow in Dad's footsteps. And so he went into the National Guard, and so now he's gotten his associate's degree, and he's moved on. In fact, he just purchased his brand new construction a few months ago, and he's only 25. So it's just things you do for your children, because you have to put them first. I'm telling you, but
So,
as the father, you have to put those children next.
so because I always like to give people information on the process of like healing and grieving and how that looks for people differently. So for you, was it kind of immersing yourself into your children's lives, and like where in this journey did you deal with you is where I'm trying to go. Where
When,
see, because you what listen, just so you know, there's a therapist in me, so I know when people go around in the circle, where in the process did you deal with you?
so when I dealt with me is when I took my sabbaticals from teaching. I did a year off, then I did another 2 years. And that's when I dealt with me. In the process of it, I was writing. I was writing. And while I was working, I remember he had just passed away, and I had come down here, and my first teaching job was in the area. And I remember teaching my heart out because I love teaching some English. I was teaching the ninth and 11th grade, and 11th grade term paper, I never forget. And then ninth grade Romeo and Juliet. And it was just a lot. And I kept moving. And when my planning period rolled around, which is we had maybe an hour and a half, almost 2 hours of planning, I would sit there, cut the lights off, and I would cry. I would cry. I would just, I would just be bawling. I'm just, oh my goodness. Then I looked at the clock. I said, it's time for me to teach again. Dry my eyes, dry my face, and I would keep it moving. I had to keep it moving. And then, so once I left that particular school, I went to my hometown, and I wanted to make a difference. And so I was doing so many array of things, just everything. But it wasn't the timing for me to be there. And even though my son was like, Mom, how could you do this? I said, son, I said, if we move closer, if you go to the community school in which we lived, I said, you can have a car. I was just trying to convince him. I did. I made a lot of sacrifices for my children. And I made a lot of decisions, maybe not so much as fair or good decisions. But the one thing I want to be honest with you, even though I wanted to come home and be closer to my family, the Father had a different story for me. He said, no. He said, you got to understand and trust me. I live within you. I'm with you every step of the way. And so by me being alone and my alone time writing, we were able to communicate. When I tell you Olivia's journey, it's all about the journey that the Father and I had. I mean, you sitting there writing, because every time I read the book several times, I would go back and I said, man, Father, you are amazing to me. And I never forget, my son played basketball, and he was low key, quiet. And he wanted me to sit down and talk to the coach with him. And sure, he's actually asking me to help him do something. So I didn't trust myself. So I ended up taking someone with me. And at the end of the meeting, the Father convicted me. He said, don't you know I'm everything that you need? And he said, you can only, a lot of people say, well, you the mom and the dad. No, 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 no. I can only be the mom. Everything that they're lacking, they'll have to get it from the Most High. I was like, I cannot put, I don't know. I'm not a man, and I really love to be a woman. And so I said, I can't do that. And so my children saw my journey. And as a result of it, they have that time too. I remember seeing my daughter, she's extremely smart. She reminds me, both of them remind me of my husband, but she skipped a whole grade, right? She graduated when she was 16. And I remember seeing her just journaling, when she's distraught or whatever, she journals. Did we seek counseling, grief counseling? Absolutely. Several times. I don't speak against that at all, because you need those tools there in order to move on. Will there be obstacles in everyone's life? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we have to be reminded in his word that we can do all things through him because he strengthens us. And that's my journey. And and I have and I have the brand that I created that the Father gave me is red shoes, the red heels. If you can see it over here, it's the red heels. And the red symbolizes the blood of the Most High. Even though we make mistakes, he is merciful. He is gracious to hey, you made a mistake, repent, put your shoes back on and keep moving. And as a result of that, everywhere that we tread, everywhere that we journey, we're covered in his blood. And so that's where the red shoes come from. And just the symbolism that hey, we're gonna be okay.
Right. So, Olivia's Story, is that the first book that you authored?
Absolutely. And I'm ready to write it's supposed to be
So,
a series.
so tell us about Olivia's Story.
Okay, Olivia's story is too similar to mine. She lost a spouse. She lost her husband. Her children were adult children, though. I think maybe the daughter was perhaps just entering her freshman year, and the son is, of course, is I think following in his dad's footsteps. But of course, I tweaked the story because to whereas the husband who passed away was in the military, the Air Force, and so you can see throughout the story, you can see segments of backflashes of my true life. But as far as Olivia is concerned, she's ready to date again. She is ready to date, and so she experiences three men in this book, and it is comical. It really is. And at the end of the book, there's a twist. I remember my daughter finally reading the book. I think she was 18 or 17. She said, Mama, what is this? What is the end of this book? And all of my friends say, were you writing about me, Trina? I mean, I'm really writing about everyone woman who experiences, the journeys of dating. And so that's what she did. And then at the end of it, she wasn't properly healed yet. And so when she was going through relationships or situations, she was looking for her husband who was gone. So she compared her late husband to all the men that she encountered. And at the end of the book, to me, I felt like I think she found herself. I don't want to tell you the whole book.
Right. No. You don't, I don't want you to give it away. I just want to give an idea of what the story was about. And so as I listen to you, it seems that one of the ways in which you were able to kind of move on and grieve and find that healing place was through your writing. I tell people oftentimes that writing is very therapeutic. When you are going through something, I speak to my clients all the time about the importance of journaling, the importance of writing, and even for people who are grieving, to write letters even to the loved ones that they've lost as if they were here. There's something so comforting and so therapeutic about writing. So as a English major and someone in that field of writing and theater, it's no surprise that that was part of your journey, and it continued on even into the development and the writing of plays. And so, what's the name of the play?
The name of the play is Off the Court. Off the Court.
Okay. And it can be found on YouTube.
YouTube, of course, and if you want a written copy of it, is on Amazon as well.
Okay. And a brief synopsis of that again.
The Off the Court is, I got the title because I feel as if parents need to live instead of telling their children. They need to model the behavior that they want their children to display. I mean, they look at you first. And as a school teacher, I'm like, yes, we're looking at Johnny and Mary, but the parent is the first teacher. Mm-hmm. And I felt as if that was so important. So throughout the story, you'll see segments how the main character, which is Jackie, she's making pivotal, I mean, she's making just decisions based upon, of course, she experienced hurt too, because she was betrayed because her husband was he did a white collar crime, and he was gone for about 4 years, and do that transition, how the son was hurt, how the daughter was hurt too. So it at the end there's a twist too, because Off the Court needs to be a series. It needs to be Off the Court too.
Okay. Okay. And just to touch on what you said in terms of us being the model, it is absolutely the truth. I don't know if you realize, but I say former, but I'm not really a former educator, because I actually still do some stuff within the educational field. But a lot of times as parents, we put too much emphasis on peer pressure and the power of our children's peers, when the reality is that we are their biggest influence. We really are their biggest influence. And so, it was a time when parents used to say, do as I say and not as I do. That doesn't apply. It never really applied, but it definitely doesn't apply now. So we have to be the role models. We have to live out our lives in a way that we are positively influencing our children. It's just that simple. They're going to model what we show them, whether we want them to or not. They're going to pick up on our behaviors, our attitudes, our work ethics, our beliefs. They pick it all up from us before anyone else gets to influence them. So yes, absolutely on point with that. So you started writing the books, you started writing the plays, you have the red shoe. Now, is this like a ministry or?
It is definitely a ministry. I've been on the both sides. So I've been single, of course. I've been married, and now as a widow. So it's a combination of everything. So women will be able to just pull whatever they need to from the story and make changes, and some perhaps even introduced to some strategies that they never thought about.
Okay. So how does this work? Is this something that you do in person, through Zoom? Do you meet? Tell us a little bit more about the program.
Okay. So what we did initially was I had a book club. So in the book club, we went through and we read. We were transparent. This book club through Zoom, because it was the pandemic. The book was already written, right? So we were through the pandemic. I guess every Monday we were just transparent. We did 2 chapters a week, and of course there were questions at the end too. And that's something I want to do, is add discussion questions for book clubs at the end of the book. So I'm in the process of making changes to Olivia's journey, and at the same time writing the series, or the second book of the series, called Her Detour. So I said, so at the end of the book club, everybody was like, gosh, this is great. Let's continue the process. Let's do it again. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I wanted to pull together a virtual retreat with speakers in October, but it was too soon. I was re-entering for the last time the teaching field, the last time. And it was just a lot of things going on, the pandemic, the just protocols, and it was tough. I mean, it was truly tough to be in the middle of it. And so what I ended up doing is just pushing it back to December. I chose 8 speakers. It was one evening, and we had 8 speakers because it's 8 chapters. And each speaker chose a chapter that resonated with them. They renamed the chapter and presented based upon what resonated with them in that chapter. So that's how we did that. And we also had a special guest speaker, which is my grandmother. She, though that older generation, they can drop nuggets, especially now that she's 97. She is dropping major nuggets right now. And so we had one of my friends sing, and we just had an awesome dynamic time. And I said, as soon as this pandemic over, let's go out. Let's do this, ladies. And they's like, yes. And so we're excited about this weekend. We'll be on site at the Centennial Plaza in Gulfport, Mississippi. We're just making an entire weekend of it.
So a little bit more detail
Okay.
about the weekend. So out of that came this weekend of events.
Yes.
And is it the red shoe? What is the title of it?
Okay. The name of the getaway is called My Journey Weekend Getaway. And the foundation of it, of course, is Olivia's journey. And we're hoping that women will come and be renewed in their spirit, mind, soul, and body. So we're going to cover all those bases right there. We're going to come in Friday evening. We have a couple of speakers who are in the deals with, they're specialized in therapy, mind. Make sure your mind is correct. Make sure your mind is changed. And they will drop nuggets. Those therapists and psychologists will drop nuggets to us and we're going to meet and greet and have networking. Each of the ladies who are in attendance on Friday night will receive a journal. In that journal, as a part of the process, the speakers will present, hey, what do you not want to take with you? What do you want to stop doing? There has to be something that you want to change. So in the first page of the journal, they will write down whatever they want to get rid of, whatever changes they want to see in their lives. We would then go across the street. There's to the beach. We will have a bonfire, and we will make sure we will have a whole ceremony. I have a singer too. I'm just all about music and change and whatever I need to see happen. So I have a friend that's going to sing a song by Whitney Houston. I Didn't Know My Own Strength or something like that. And she's going to sing that as we just really meditate, probably link arms and just really trust the Most High that as this is the beginning of the retreat. This is the beginning of a new. We're going to go back across the street, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to have a paint party. Yes, we're painting shoes, and we also have a crown. So we're going to engage in just eating snacks and networking some more. And then the next day, what we're going to do first thing, we're going to work on our physical aspects. So I have my personal trainer come in, and she's going to give us tips and tools and present to us what we need to do in order to be physically ready. Got our mind right. Now let's be physically ready. And then right after that, we have a massage therapist that will come and just really go through that detox mode, drinking water, detox mode. We will then pause. We will have lunch. We will have a buffet lunch. We will then have an array of speakers. Again, these speakers read Olivia's journey, and they're taking that and presenting their own journey. We're going to have speakers to discuss the importance of the physical, the internal health, right? Which is very important. We're going to have financial literacy, financial peace, and also just in a STEM. Somebody's going to come talk to the girls, talk to the ladies about STEM. If you're interested in this career, real estate, just an array of things, physical abuse, mental abuse. Someone's going to talk about domestic violence. And so they're going to be transparent as much as they possibly can. Who's in attendance? Again, we're introducing a girls group called Destiny's Elite Girls. And with this is the third year that I have a scholarship. 3 years prior, this is the fourth year, 3 years prior, the scholarship was acknowledging my husband, late husband, who was, an educator, a coach. So I honor him every year by giving that scholarship. This year, I decided to do strictly girls group. And so we are excited. And so they wrote their essays. We had a writing prompt. They wrote their essays. And the essays are dynamic. I mean, they are. I'm not going to be the judge of it. And of course, Sunday we'll introduce the winner of the scholarship. But with those essays, guess what? They're going to do an anthology, and they're so excited about it. Do I need more girls? Yes. I'm looking for 22 girls. Well, a total of 22 girls. And by December, they will have a book signing, whether it's virtual or it's in person book signing. And I want that book to just really go nationwide because girls need to hear stories that are pivotal for their advancement. And they yeah.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, and it's so strange that every time I do a project, because I love projects, the book, the stage play, and I with this particular project, I thought it was going to be the end. And so I was in prayer the other day, and the Father, just had revealed stuff to you. And I sat there and I started crying. And you can say, "Oh, she's crying for joy." No, I was crying because I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to do it, to be honest with you. And in the book too, I think in one of my books or stage plays, I referenced Jonah. Jonah didn't want to do anything. He just whatever. And that story in the Bible, he's like, I don't want to tell the people that. You want to focus on you. And I'm thinking, wow, I said, I have all these things to do because I'm also working on my PhD. Yeah. So PhD in communications, which my dissertation is solely on social media and children, adolescents. So I guess it all ties in together, but I'm like, I didn't want to do that right there. But as we move forward, I'll reveal more of how this will advance. The girls groups will advance. I'm excited about Destiny's Lead though. I really am.
Nice. Yeah. I like that idea of the individual projects from the girls becoming an anthology. That's a really good idea. So tell us, how can people reach out to you? What is your website? Say it slowly, please.
I will. It is My Journey, mydestiny.com.
mydestiny.com.
Yep, that's it.
And so are you on social media?
Yes, we are on social media. Facebook there's several pages of Facebook, but there's Destiny's Elite Girls. There is also LGM Productions. LGM Productions. There's also Mississippi Speaker Connection, which is also partnering with LGM Production. And there is Latrina as the author Latrina Graves McCarty.
Okay, is that how they would find your individual?
Yes.
Okay. And are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram as Trina G Mac.
Okay. I think I got that right. Let me double check. My journey, my destiny. Okay. Yep. Let's see. Does that look right?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay. So that is her website. That's where you will be able to get more information regarding her books. Guess your book is on there. Information. Do you have the link to the play as well on there?
Yes, we have a link to the play and YouTube, and we have a link to our store as well. So we have a store on there, and link to the play, and also link to the book.
Okay, what kind of merchandise for the store?
It is right now just an array of things: T-shirts, coffee mugs, grab bags. I love that store. I love it, and it has 3 designs. My original design is on there, and then we also have the nails. And that store is LGM Productions spread shop. So everything you need is on the website, even our email address. So if you want to reach out to us,
okay,
connect.
And you can see the information for the website scrolling down at the bottom. So before we wrap up, I like for people to be able to leave words of wisdom, encouragement, inspiration. So what would you like to leave us with? Someone who is listening that might be going through something, someone who may be in a similar situation, may have lost a spouse. What would you say to them?
I love quotes. I just love quotes. And in the very front of the book, there's a quote there. And this is what my husband used to always tell me. He said, just take one day at a time. He used to sing the song, just one day at a time, sweet Jesus. He used to sing that song. I never forget when we were dating, I was like, what about this? What about that? Be anxious for nothing. Just sit back and really enjoy the ride. Do what you're supposed to be doing, and I guarantee you it will come. And don't think so much, just trust the process and trust the journey, and know and just be confident that the Father, I'm going to be honest with you, He's all you need. I know a lot of my friends was like, get married, get married. And I remember my husband even telling me, he said, anything happens to me, Trina, it's okay to remarry. And first of all, I was just upset because I was like, you're not going anywhere. Because he was not, his health was declining. I was like, you're not going anywhere. But I realize now that the Most High, and he will put people in your path. I'm telling you, to just bring his projects together. He will. The right people will step up, even just for a season. And it's been great. It has been great.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey, your story, giving us some tips and some wisdom and some insight. I wish you all the best for this upcoming weekend, that the women would come and be open to receiving everything it is that God has for them. I pray that God continue to bless you and move you forward in everything that he has for you. So I thank you for being on, and thank you guys for tuning in to listen to Latrina's story. Be blessed. Hello, I am Gwen Goolsby Tillery. I am your success coach, helping you move from stuck to unstoppable. I just wanted to come on for a few minutes to talk to you about the subject of not giving in. Yes, don't give in. So this is a new segment that I will be doing from time to time. I don't have a set schedule that I will be bringing these messages. Instead, as God gives them to me and I get the downloads, I am just going to hop on and I am going to share them with you. So this is something that has been on my heart and on my mind for quite some time. And a lot of my messages that I speak about, that I bring, I'm be honest, it's from my own personal experiences. And so I know if I'm dealing with it and I encounter it, I know I'm not alone in that. I know that others also struggle with these things and also have doubts and also have worries. So I just want to come on to be an encouragement to you. I want to come on to help you shift your mindset so that you can actually move from stuck to unstoppable, become healed, happy, and whole, and walk in everything it is that God has for you. And so Galatians 6:9 says, let us not become discouraged in doing good. For in due season, or at the proper time, if we don't give in, we will reap a harvest. So that's what I want to talk to you just a little bit about today. It says, if you don't give in, you will reap a harvest. What is that giving into? That giving into is several different things. is different things that we give into as it comes to staying the course and doing what's right and doing what God has called us to do. Sometimes we will find ourselves giving into peer pressure. You know, God has showed us something. The Holy Spirit has given us this download. We dreamed it, we believe it, but it's not moving quick enough and it's not moving fast enough for us. And so we may find ourselves giving in. We may find ourselves doing things that we see other people doing because it looks like they're having success and we're not having success. What I want to tell you is don't give in to the peer pressure. God has uniquely qualified you for that assignment. He is giving you everything you need. He will continue to give you everything that you need for that assignment. So don't give in to the peer pressure. Don't feel like you have to change up who you are. Don't feel like you have to change the blueprint that God has given to you. Stay the course. Don't give in. Don't fall into the peer pressure of doing what everyone else is doing. Another way we sometimes give in goes a little bit beyond the peer pressure, and it deals more with the fact that we want to be different. You know, not that we want to be different. We know we are different, but we want to be the same. So it kind of goes into the peer pressure, but it's a little bit deeper. We have each uniquely been designed by God to do a certain thing. And sometimes we may find that we're a little peculiar in how we do things. We're a little bit different in how we do things. God has given it to us a different way. And we don't necessarily like that. We're not necessarily comfortable with that. So we want to change up who we are because we feel maybe if we change it up a little bit, if we do things a little bit differently, then maybe we'll start moving. You know, we'll get to this next level. So again, I want to encourage you, no, be true to who you are. Don't change up anything. Be exactly who God created you to be. Stay consistent with who you are. Stay consistent with what God is giving you to do. And don't give in. Be happy with that unique person that He has created you to be. And finally, don't give in to the pressure to change up the way you operate in integrity. You know, a lot of times we stay the course and we do what's right. And again, it just seems like we're not making any progress. It seems like we're not moving. And yet we look around and we see certain things and we're like, but I don't understand, God. You know, I've been consistent. I've been true. I've been in my word. I show love. I show respect. But yet I feel stuck. I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I feel like I'm not getting any traction. And I look around and it seems like everyone else is moving. Well, I want to say a couple of things on that. First of all, looks are deceiving. Just because they say they're moving, it doesn't necessarily mean they are. That's the first thing. The second thing is, even if they are moving, that's none of your business. That's not for you to worry about, nor is it for me to worry about. What we need to worry about is the specific assignment that God has given to us. And so we need to focus on the assignment that God has for us and not what anyone else is doing. So with that being said, we have to remain being the people and the persons that we are. We have to continue to operate in integrity. We have to continue to operate in love. We can't take shortcuts because you see, someone else might be able to take a shortcut, but for what God has in store for you, you can't take the shortcut. You have to operate in integrity. You have to operate in love. And I know it can be frustrating and I know it can be overwhelming, but don't allow the things that you see going on around you to stop you from being the person that God has created you to be. So that is my message, a simple message, 7 minutes plus message for you to not give in, to remain faithful, to stay the course, not to grow weary in well-doing. Keep being that person that God created you to be, and watch what he will do, because you have been sowing, you've been sowing, and now it is time to reap the harvest. So be faithful, don't give in, and watch what God is going to do. This is your 7-minute message to help you move from stuck to unstoppable. Be blessed. Yes, it's that time of the year. Kingdom Purpose TV's second anniversary virtual conference. This year's theme is Greater Expectation. It will begin Thursday, June 30th and run through Saturday, July 2nd. Our evening will be hosted by our own Bishop Vernon Matthews and his lovely wife Tamra Matthews. That will begin in the evenings, starting Thursday, June 30th at 1 p.m. We have Gwen Goolsby Tillery, myself, with Bishop Charles Matthews hosting, with two amazing speakers, Brianna Mead and Tiffany, followed up by Friday's session, hosted by myself and Minister Shakita Jackson. We will have 3 dynamic speakers that will be talking about business, health, and relationships. And on Saturday, I will be co-hosting with my husband, Coach Alex Tillery, and we have 4 amazing speakers lined up for you. Bishop Charles Matthews, Tony Moore, Shay Brown, and some other spectacular speakers. Don't miss it.